Hello. Thanks for hanging around. I was a bit stressed out that I'd be talking to two people who were on my table and can't leave because I know them. Thank you also too to DiG. This is great. Like as Gavin said, it's an amazing concept, 2 days, ideas. But also too, I think it's really cool that retail has made it to the platform. And we saw Ven this morning. We talked about Gavin talked about the consumer verse. And I think it's a really important thing to really recognise that every business in Australia is now a retailer of sorts, and I'll talk a little bit about that. And every retailer in the world is a business. And I think we're really going through a time where people need to re-educate themselves, totally become customer-centric. And we've heard that almost in every single talk we've talked about. So let's get into the new consumer behaviour. So we're all consumers in one way or another. Once upon a time, we went to the bank. We looked different. We put our good clothes on, went to the bank, had a talk with our bank manager, put our sports clothes on, went to the sports field. We went to the supermarket dressed in a certain way. We behaved in certain ways with certain professions, and that's gone. We now act the same and behave the same and expect businesses to relate to us in the same way with every business that we deal with every person that we come in contact with. We expect it to be all about us, and we now expect businesses to know very much about us and talk to us in a way that we want to be engaged with. So the first reason this is very prominent right now, of course, is technology. So we look at the internet. The internet is a total different beast to what it was, 5 years ago, 3 years ago. We're now looking at a time where we're totally engaged. We have devices that connect us to the world and to each other. So our devices mean that we are easily able to access it. And we have GFC. GFC changed a lot of what happened, especially for us in Australia, not just because credit crunch and the way that businesses had to now desperately connect with customers because sales weren't there, but also too for us in Australia, retailers like the Zaras, like the Pottery Barns, etc., have now come into our market, whether that is just online, sending us product, or opening their own stores in our shores because they actually found that, wow, Australia actually has people with money in there. Despite for the last 10 years, I've been shipping things to a friend's house in America and he's been shipping them to me because I couldn't buy the product online. So we've got a very competitive, connected marketplace now that we never had before. We also need to understand consumer behaviour in the truest sense. So I suppose Gavin was saying we need to look 10 years forward, we need to look 20 years back. In retail, we're actually going to the basic foundation. We're now going back to really understand who our customer is and what they're doing. So one of it is that they are very cautious now. They're very cautious to spend money. They don't want to rack up debt the same way that they were before. And now they don't have a lot of trust in information that's being fed to them through business and commerce because it's being seen as contrived. They're very conservative in their spending. We all know that. We've, I'm sure, experienced it in one way or another as a business. And they're doing research, as Gavin said, before they spend their bucks. So that means that we have to be where they are when they're researching it before they even know who we are as a brand. The thing that I am finding over and over is that this thriftiness is going to hang around. So in the same way that our great-grandparents or our grandparents were in the depressionary times and they were very cautious and they were this stayed with them really for the rest of their life. We're now going to have a generation who maybe not for the rest of their life, but for a very long time will be very cautious with how they spend. And they will remember this 2008, 2009 time when things got tight, the world got crazy, and probably 2013, the way we're going, and really react to that. So we have to understand that as businesses. We also know that they're spending more time at home. So what that means for us is that anything where we're talking about comfort, security, we're looking at nostalgic items. So for people who are Gen X and above, we have nostalgia with memory. So when you're talking about Neil Diamond, as we were this morning in the song, I remember when that was playing through the radio in the car on the way to Nelson Bay. But when you're talking about something where you look at the Linksters and the Gen Ys, they have a lot of nostalgia because the design's cool or it's a cool concept, not because they have a memory attached to it, but it's still an important concept. So we looked at comfort. So you'll see a lot of things like wooden fixturing. We're looking for music that does comfort us. So as marketers and as retailers, we need to make sure that we are talking in a way that our customers feel comfortable with us. Of course, people are more environmentally aware. They demand sustainability in a conversation where it's appropriate. So we have to also, as businesses, act in the right way. Then more connected than ever. We've talked about that ad nauseum, so I'll scoop through that. But we also have to connect with them through their natural organic activity. The big thing that I think is changing is privacy. So the definition of privacy has changed forever for all of us. I think once upon a time, for me definitely, I didn't want to get into social media personally, not business, because of this whole thing about privacy and people will see. I don't even think about it now. My mother doesn't think about it now. My 77-year-old great aunt just joined Facebook, and she doesn't care what she says about all of us when she comments on stuff because she just thinks it's her playground. So this whole concept of privacy and connectivity has changed forever, and we can't judge our customer or consumer's behavior based on what we think is appropriate because they're doing it. Remember, with the customer, it's all about me. These people, customers are looking at, well, what do you know about me? How do you want to connect with me? I want to find people who have common interests as I do, whether the business is in there or not. I want to connect with people with common interest. And I want to also express myself. So things like Instagram, Pinterest, they've really given people the ability to act sort of creative, even if they weren't creative, because they can actually show a little bit of their flavour and their talent through that. Then also too, remember we're talking about different types of people who act differently as groups. So we've got the baby boomers, Gen Y, Gen X, and then whatever you want to call that last group, the links to C generation. But that each community has similar but different activities. So we have to identify who is that person, who are we talking to. So maybe if you are appealing to one or more of these groups, you do have to think about, it's sort of like the A/B testing in email marketing, right? You have to have a way that it comes across in this way in a channel, and then for your next market it comes through this way. So you have to be flexible enough to understand that maybe you have to talk two different languages. Then let's talk about their behaviour. Their behaviour and their activities, that most people do three things online. We share, comment and advise, and I call that the Facebook School of Interactivity. The Facebook School of Interactivity says that these are the three things you can do. So these are the three things they expect to do on any platform that they use, including your website. We said that they're more plugged in than ever. Our customers now are embracing technology. So where the lag, the lag time that to adopt anything used to be quite long, it's now quite short, and people are now expecting things to be updated more regularly. They're waiting for new updates. And probably, as we've been saying with the education today, you can YouTube instruction, you can look through pictures, you can message somebody straight away, or you can put on your Facebook wall and go, how the heck am I supposed to use this? And straight away you're learning. So this whole barrier to adopting technology, I think, is because how did you figure out how to learn it? And I think a lot of technology is changing that. And customers like to create content. The consumer is a very content creative person in their own way, not because they're employed by your business, but because that's what they do when they're online. In terms of how they will react to a brand, they are far less brand loyal. We know that. We see that all the time. But they love it when somebody listens to them, and even better when we act. So yesterday, we were talking about the cooperative development, the collaborative consumer. That consumer is so, so important to us, because if we actually develop something with us, they have a vested interest to build that with us as well. They enhance your business when it's organically and naturally done, and they'll vote with their dollars. So if they like it, they'll buy it. If they don't like it, they won't. Consumers are getting savvier. So I love this word, savvy and sassy. They're my two favourite words at the moment. They're savvy because they're deciding what they want to do. They have a lot more knowledge. Half the time, consumers have more knowledge than the retailers who are serving them, which is appalling, but reality. And I think they're making a lot of judgment based on that, with which business they interact with. They are more demanding and have more choice than ever before. And that's international, right? A consumer doesn't go on a website and go, I only want Australian businesses. If they happen to find it, great. If they don't, that's cool. They'll deal with someone wherever they find them. Remember, smarter, well-informed, not stingy. The thriftiness that I was talking about before does not mean they don't want to spend, but I find that they want to value. The word value is very important to them. They're also very trend aware. So Pantone colour of the year, you know that they do this every year, right? So green, emerald green is this year's colour of the year. You look at consumers, and particularly I see this on Pinterest. People are very aware that this is the colour trend of the year. I started working in the printing industry in 1996, and Pantone was the secret panacea of beauty for us in the trade, but it wasn't really a consumer product and nobody really knew about it. Now you see the Pantone colour cups, you see colour chips, Pantone colour cushions. They've become very commercial, and they've connected with people, and people like to react to this. So now consumers want to know what the colour of the year is. If you're using this in your business, then they're going to think that you're very connected and up to date. So it's important that we understand what trends they're looking at, and that they do understand trends. Have a look at emerald green in Pinterest, and it's amazing. This is my emerald green board that I did on Polyvore. Lots of fun. So when we're thinking about what we do as a business, what we understand and what we adopt, and thinking about the customer who is connected, not stingy, thrifty, thrifty, not stingy, connected, not disconnected, and wants to really adapt. We have to go back to this movie. I love this movie, but I remember in 1995, who's seen this movie? Thank God somebody put their hand up. I've been in talks with people going, I don't know what she's talking about. And this, I remember watching Sandy on the net and thinking, I'm never going to book my holiday on the internet. That's just phooey. Like, the same thing as Minority Report, right? When he was doing all of this, and now we do it on our iPads. So all of this behaviour that seemed quite weird, within 5 or 6 years, we were doing it ourselves. So we can't imagine what is coming. We can't judge what is next, but we have to be flexible enough to totally reskill ourselves and get up to date and just accept it and move on and not resist. We know, and we've heard this over and over and over, more than 80% of people have at least one device, whether it's a phone, a tablet, or a computer, or all of them. And sometimes they're plugged into all three when they're engaging. I certainly have had 2 or 3 devices on the last 2 days. So that means to us that we have to be in different places, but I think it's also important to understand that we don't look the same, but we look similar in each of the places. I'll show you some examples. So the consumer expects you to be wherever they happen to be and wherever they want to engage you. And if you're not somewhere where they are, they're not going to go, oh, I'm going to go back and find Nancy's business and try and find her here. They will just go and find something similar to you. So competitive activity is so important when you are thinking your competitor can pick up where you have left off in one field because you've missed out on it. We talked about, quite a few people have mentioned omni-channel, so I'm not going to go into it, but you have to have an omni-channel approach to the business as well as your communication and marketing, especially for retailers, so important. So this is the other thing too that we're thinking with the omni-channel activity. If you're not there, they are there. Do you know the Gary Hayes augmenter? I love Gary Hayes counter, right? It shows you what's all happening on the internet and you can see all this stuff happening and you don't have to be there, but it's still happening without you. And it's very important for a business to understand this is the reality of it. And if they're not, if they talk to you, if a customer tries to talk to you or a consumer tries to talk to you in any platform and you're not there, they're going to talk to somebody else or they're going to talk about you if they're not talking to you. And this is we see this all the time. So it's very important that this isn't happening for your business. So excellent customer service is the #1 activity of every business. Exceptional customer service should be the #1 goal for every single business. And remember, if they don't find it from you, they'll go and get it from somebody else. The rules have changed. We know that. The rules have changed forever. They'll never go back. The customer is driving the market. Consumer customer, I changed them. So but the consumer is the #1 driver of this. And every retailer, every business has to understand this and really adapt it and show that they understand it to their customer. So for us in retail, our big challenges are not just we're finding bricks and mortar villages are building up and people are really building up local community. But we've got online marketplaces and we've got online communities, not just marketplaces, who are then referring people of common interest to different businesses as well. So we're not just competing with our next door neighbour anymore. So let's look a little bit at what the consumer is doing online. They're embracing technology. So virtual change rooms are huge. This is in Topshop in London, and they have lines to them to use them all the time. They also connect with the brands, and they're not just using technology, they're connecting with the brand. So Diesel had this, this is maybe 2 or 3 years old now, where they had the Diesel cam. So you took a picture and you said to your friends, do you like this outfit? And it went straight to your Facebook page. If you don't know 5 Faces, #5faces.com.au, they're an Australian company. They developed this interface, which is even more interesting for me because it takes a picture of the customer, and this is in Oriton, takes a picture of the customer and then it flicks them across and puts them on the Facebook page of Oriton as well as their Facebook page, and then it links the two together. So I like this because all of a sudden now the customer's linked to Oriton, the business is linked to the customer, and their friends are going, wow, I'd love that bag. Consumers are connecting with not just brands or stores they like, they're connecting to celebrities. Look at Barack Obama now. You know, people are talking back to consumers. Celebrity stars, artists, experts are all connecting with customers in a way that people never had access to before. But now they expect it because if Lady Gaga's doing it, why aren't you doing it? They connect with each other during TV shows. I love Offspring. Don't know if I'll watch it now that Patrick's dead. I'm still assessing. But what they also do while they're connecting is that they also shop. So this one, and I say this to every group of retailers I talk to, hop on the pages of TV shows that are happening right now, and when somebody says, does anybody know what Nina's wearing or that watch, or I can't find it, and you're a watch shop, put your freaking watch on the screen and go, this is my watch. Like, people are asking this question. So they're not just connecting with each other as fans, they're then going, hey, I really like that. To the point that I think it's Wonderland, the new show on Channel 10, they have Pinterest boards for the wardrobe of that. So, if you want to go wonder what she was wearing, they now have Pinterest boards that show what the wardrobe is. I love this. This is so clever. And it's really good for the brands as well. And then what we have to understand as businesses is that this is what the consumer will expect of every activity of every TV show moving forward. So we know that we've talked about music today, of course, but consumers naturally share. They share music, they share their they share their preferences. So this is a really important activity that we can hook onto while they're sharing our product or our topic or our heading. They overshare. Hashtag selfie. It's just, this picture gives me a headache. But we also think it's an opportunity somewhere where you can hook into this trend and this movement of the selfie. My grandmother she knows what a selfie is because we do them together and she thinks they're very funny. She hasn't seen this. We're never going to tell her. And they share, not just they share and they overshare, they share immediately. So now this whole thing about I'll do it when I get back, it's not. Our devices mean that we can share immediately, whether it's through Kik, SMS, or straight through social media, they're sharing immediately. They create content. So creating content is a really big thing for us because this is what we can use to also promote our own product. So it's taking a really cool store window and making it even nicer and putting, I was saying before about self-expression. Well, now I can put my flavor, my trend, my preferences over through that picture as well. Creating content through things like Tumblr. Tumblr's got such beautiful artists using this platform. So this is such a nice community and it's such a nice group. And you'll see really great discussions coming up about topics of the day around that. This one in particular is art. This is Mark Snipe. If you want to check out beautiful art, he does beautiful stuff. The thing that's interesting for me in Tumblr is that Vogue have a Tumblr. Vogue have a great website, of course, and great social media presence, but they are also in Tumblr, and Tumblr looks different to how everything else looks, but still with the same sort of branding. And this is this omni-channel experience we're talking about. Consumers creating, do you know Polyvore? Love Polyvore. This is my pretty board. I wish this for dresses a few years ago. Unfortunately, they were all designers, so they stayed on my Polyvore board and never in my wardrobe. But the thing that's cool about this is the consumer creates all these looks, customer, creator, designer, whatever. You can create a board and it can have all pretty pictures and it can have pictures from everywhere. Each of those pictures is clickable, and when you click on it on the right-hand side, it shows that where you can buy it and how much it is. And we'll talk more. I'm doing a workshop at 1:30, so I'll go into this a lot more, but I just wanted to raise them as concepts so you can see them. But this then leads to shopping. So the content creation then goes across to the shopping. Creating content, the consumer does this as well through Google Places. I don't know how many times I've said to businesses, go get a Google Place, and then they email me and go, hey, I had one. It's like, somebody's done that for you and you haven't even thanked them. So go in and populate that. The great thing about Google Places and Google Now is that it all links in with Google+. So you can have a little bit more of an integrated experience there as well. Creating content accidentally. Do you remember this video of these gorgeous grandparents discovering Skype and recording their whole conversation? Adorable. But this is a really cool thing where just so it shows you what accidental celebrity can do. And this was so well responded because it was genuine. There was no commercial connection, of course, but this is a thing that we have to recognise as businesses that is happening every day and can't be contrived because then the negative backlash will be huge. Creating content, then becoming opinion leaders. So Shopping Hall, do you know this website, HUL? Shopping Hall. For me, it's scary. I don't have kids, but if I had kids and they did that, they'd be grounded forever. So this is where they just show, they're mostly in their bedroom going, look, I just bought this nail polish and it was $7.99, and they put it on and give you a tip. This became the #1 beauty website for the USA, and it actually was a YouTube channel that then became its own bona fide website. On one of them, the bloggers, Michelle, can't remember her surname, sorry, but L'Oreal took her around the world to talk about their product. And it's a very, very strong community, and you can see everything, pretty much beauty and makeup, and a little bit of fashion sometimes coming into this spectrum. But here they talk about the product and they critique it. So they say the good stuff and they also say the bad stuff. But if you're a brand, it's a really great community to hop into because you'll naturally get people talking about your product. Again, creating content and reviews. This was a review that I found on Reddit of a Google Plus review of a prison. It'll be available, you've got to read it. It's just cracked me up. I just had to include it. So things are humorous. So this was, of course, humorous reviews, but then there's serious reviews. So again, people are creating content in here. People are talking about, this is an iPhone one on Reddit. I like Reddit. I got lost in Reddit a couple of weeks ago. It's a really cool space. And it's a great way for us as businesses to really research what people are talking about and what they like in our own area. And there's a lot of really good stuff in there if you want to know about the iPhone 5. So I find this is more important. I search social probably more than I search Google for opinions and reviews myself now. So also creating content through Pinterest. We were talked about this before. Pinterest is such an important board for businesses that have products to sell, mostly because it's the #1 referrer for websites, coming up more and more and more than Google. So if you know Martha Stewart, Pinterest is her #1 website referral site. So this shows you this is a very important food-connected community. Food, party, wedding, bridal, beauty, very, very strong. Travel, as some photography. It's a bit strange, photography in this area, but it's sort of a bit of everything. So then looking at the board, it's not that they're creating content, they're also creating content that could still tell a story of your brand. So you're not just responsible for including your content. This is the Henry Bendel board. So this is just, searching Henry Bendel. These are all people's experiences, as well as the Henry Bendel posts as well. But this tells you a story about Henry Bendel as a brand, not just one that they've put out. This is the creators of the content are the consumer as well as the business. We know that they research. So looking at consumer behavior through researching, it's not just information through Google and facts through that we've talked about through the review sites, but they're also on price comparison websites, authenticating businesses. So I will authenticate you online. I'll check you out in 2 or 3 places. I will make sure that you are consistent and you're saying the same thing and that you are real. They go through researching in a social way as well. Hey guys, what do you know about this? Who likes this? Who's tried that? They also will then go and look at common interest groups. So if I'm researching something that maybe my friends aren't involved with so much, I'll then go and find a group that is talking about that topic and engage. And the thing that I think is really important for all of us in retail and in business we've heard a lot over the last couple of days about geolocational application, is that 50% of local search is on mobile. That means that when people are searching, they are near you. They are quite near you. And if they can't find you, if you are not taking advantage of geolocational applications, you're going to be missing out. Researching, especially quite strong communities online, like the Green Sustainable community, when they go and research and then they will come off into your website, it's so important to make sure that you understand the gravity in the community and the awareness and the engaged information and how knowledgeable your customer is, so that when they do come across to your website, especially Green and Sustainable, for me, I think it's a really important one, that they have a great experience and don't bounce straight off your website. People bookmark. I love bookmarking sites. I use them all the time, but bookmarking is important too. I like to go in and see what people are bookmarking and what the trending is in these areas too, because it will tell you a little bit more about what they're looking at. So not just researching over here and creating content over there, sometimes things converge, as we've heard today. And Posse, if you don't know Posse is great. Rebecca Campbell, we'll call her an honorary Australian even though she's from New Zealand, created this. This is very cool. Go and explore it. But this is basically, you can create your own shopping site, put your favourite stores, you can check out what your friends are saying, you can leave tips. It's very, very cool. Very, very cool. So if you want to know more, come to the workshop. It's my teaser. They join groups. We're talking about Etsy, virtual communities online. Etsy is your vintage and handmade marketplace. Huge, huge, huge worldwide movement community. And people naturally engage with this because it resonates with them and makes sense to them. So they will join it. Joining is very important because that's where then they have commercial conversations. So remember, Gavin was saying to you, we have to look at the whole process, not just at checkout, and where are they starting their journey. Joining things like blogs that they like. I like Hello Giggles, so if you like Zoe Dashiell, you'll like it too. It's a really good little blog. It's got a very connected community. Parenting websites, very connected, very good community. This is Kate Spade community. It's not started by Kate Spade. It's a group of girls who have Kate Spade handbags, and they've created a Flickr group. So again, 2 common interests, but it tells us something about Kate Spade people. Be mobile ready. We've heard that from every speaker, so I'm not going to go into that any more than just to say to you, we don't talk about e-commerce so much, right? We're talking about mobile commerce, and soon we'll be talking about social commerce. So if you're still at the e-commerce part, you've got a little bit of catching up to do, so hurry up. Social. So let's quickly talk about the consumer getting social. Dark blue is Facebook. I don't work for Facebook. I don't necessarily like a lot of the practices, but you know what? It's our largest community, so we have to engage in there. We can't ignore it and we can't get away from it. So understanding Facebook, I thought I'd put DiG up there. It's a great place to create a community and tell a story. So remember what Gavin was saying about the content, and when people, so if you have a sale that's only a certain number of months and then not others, so something like DiG. DiG happens once a year, but it will happen again next year and it will happen the year after and the year after. It's a great place to put a little bit of a community notice board, get the conversation going. maybe also engage through the year where people are naturally already on Facebook. So this is a nice way to say, here are some speakers, this is what we're doing, to give a really nice conversation that then, of course, goes across to your website. Very important that your activity when getting social for any business is to understand that your store, your business sits in the middle, as well as your website, and then your social activity happens around it. It has to be very, very integrated. You also have to link the story through social back into each other as well as the store. So it's so important to understand that the main activity and the main place that you actually build is your store and your website. I always say this, your store and your website, that's your mortgaged property that people can't, well, they can take away if you don't make a payment, but fundamentally it's yours. Everything else is your rental property, and you can get kicked out of rental properties fast and furious. Websites go down, communities go down, Posters is in there, and I put that in there because it doesn't exist anymore, and it was such a big site when it started. So really understand that this whole area around is a very transient place. The place in the middle is yours to keep. Let's quickly have a look at Kate Spade, how they use social, what they do as a brand. So do you know Kate Spade's a fashion brand? She started handbags, but now she's doing fashion. So it's a very, very connected community. She does a beautiful story through social. So this is her Facebook page. This is her Tumblr page. This is her Twitter page. This is her YouTube channel. This is her Instagram page. This is her Pinterest page. Foursquare for her New York store. And her G Plus page, which of course goes. And all these things come back to the website. It has to come back to the website. And the website is pretty pretty. It's a nice site, right? It's a nice homepage. Of course, this is the version of the homepage, but it's a nice version. And it looks like everything else looks. Everything looks connected. When I come here, I won't have shock. I've got to really speed through this, guys. Sorry. So they use Facebook to field primarily their customer inquiries. They don't do a lot of brand building here. They do a lot of talking. They use Twitter for talking to fans and sharing images, and they have these 2 hashtags going. They use YouTube for distributing their short films. Instagram and Foursquare, then they integrate across, and it all comes to the website. So they have different strategies for each platform, and you saw there's beautiful visual connectivity throughout. Really clever. Social commerce as well. We've talked about that. We can't get rid of it. Remember that we've got augmented reality is going to be part of our existence very soon. Consumers will catch this on much faster. So if you want to see a good case study, Esquire did it with Barnes & Noble in the USA. It was great. Gadget King, who I know, he's got really cool things that we play with. He's got an augmented reality shooting gun, which is very cool. Augmented reality brand. I think this is John Lewis in the US and in the UK, sorry, and they do a really great thing where you can only access certain looks from a certain location near a store. Very, very clever. Also thinking about what's coming up is geosocial games. And this is, I don't play games, but I'm told that this is a really good one, Ingress. But this is, for me, it's great because you look at the community. It's a very interesting community. And it's getting people playing games, gamifications, trees. I was talking about that yesterday. It's a very, very strong movement. So we're looking at quickly the empowered customer. The empowered customer, what does it mean for us as businesses? It means we have to have an integrated communication. We have to have exceptional customer service. We have to recognise that exceptional customer service is before, during and after the sale. This is something that has to be in place. You have to understand it's a process. It's a relationship building exercise for us as retailers and businesses now. And it doesn't just happen when they're in front of you. We must be more connected as businesses to the consumer. We must react, change and evolve as fast as they do. And it's not happening. We can see that especially in Australia with retail. Personalise the conversation. It's vital that they think that you're talking directly to them. Put the magic back into retail. Make the physical space amazing. Make it pretty. Get creative. Think about using this whole new piece of activity, drop and drag technology to create things that allow the customer to connect with you. When they're talking about you, make sure that you respond like Richard Branson did with this green and sustainable story with a blogger. Use the tools as well. People are creating their own magazines through Flipboard. Go and investigate. Go and look at the new technology. Go and look at what your customer is creating. This is a Richard Branson example. I'll go into it more. Madonna used Reddit to connect with her Ask Me Anything campaign. Did you see that? Very, very clever to engage. This was a good one too of also get them to act naturally and engage people with your brand through their natural activity, creating a pin board of who would you want at your dinner party. Brands looking at those. Don't forget to make it easy and put your sharing tools in there. If you don't put sharing tools into your website and you actually make sure that when they do share it, you're where they've shared it to, it won't make sense to them and then they won't be able to connect with you. So new activities, 3 slides to go. New thinking, the old rules and activities no longer apply. So we need to think now, no more B2C, no more B2B, it's B2P, business to people, and people are the most important aspect of it all. So I'll leave it there because I've covered the other points, but remember, be omnipresent, be interesting, and be innovative. Thank you. And I'm at the workshop, so you can ask me questions there. Thanks.